everyone. Welcome to Shondaland Live. My name is Brabham Nolan, and I'm a staff writer at Shondaland.com. Thanks for coming to today's chat. We're going to talk with the woman, the not myth, the legend, Miss Iyanla Vanzant. And I'm so excited. We're going to talk about relationships, womanhood, sisterhood, all that. But before then, everybody in the comments, how are we feeling? Are we excited? Can you talk about what you want to hear today a little bit more? All right. They're filling in. They're filing in. I love it. Someone said, I can't wait. This is huge. But listen, everybody, I know what you're really here for, so let's dive right in. She's a recurring New York Times bestselling author with more books than I have fingers to count on, an Emmy Award-winning spiritual life coach, and previous star of her own show, Fix My Life on OWN, which you probably know. And now she's the host of the Shondaland audio podcast, The R Spot, where she does more of what we love her most for, fixing our lives and our relationships. Please welcome the legend behind what some people call the greatest moment in reality TV history and the iconic internet quote, "Not on my watch."
Not on my watch.
On my watch. The effervescent, the wise, the beautiful Reverend Dr. Iyanla Vanzant.
Grand rising.
Grand rising. Grand and glorious rising. How are you?
I am so blessed, and I'm just blessed. You know, millions of women didn't make it to today, and so we are here, and we have to celebrate that. And be glorious in our presence.
I love that, glorious. That's the word of the year. Do you ever do word of the year?
Yes, I have a word of the year.
What's your word of the year this year, if you don't mind me asking?
Victory. My word this year is victory. In fact, I bought a new car and I named her Victory.
I'm obsessed. I'm also obsessed that you name your cars. I do.
Yeah, I name everything. My house has a name. My car has a name. My bed has a name. Everything.
I love
just speaking into the void. You know, when I talk to Victory, if she's acting up, which she isn't, she only has 742 miles on her. But my house, you know, it's so funny because some people don't know my address, but they'll write me and they'll put Villanova. They'll put Iyanla Vanzant Villanova, and the post office knows to bring the mail to my house. Yeah, I name everything.
That's incredible. And one thing I love, I'm like, that's such a reflection of you and your genuine spirit, because I feel like you connect with everyone and everything you touch, even like you said, your car, your bed, everything you name. And so in a recent episode of your podcast, The R Spot, which the R stands for relationships, for those who may not know, who are watching, I'm sure everybody knows because they're a fan. But in a recent episode, I loved, you said that everything is a relationship, everything. And so I wanted to ask you, before we get into questions today about womanhood and relationships, which relationships in a person's life do you think are the most important and that we need to pay close attention to? Is it our friends? Is it romance? Is it workplace, social media, ourselves? What is the most important relationship in our lives?
The first relationship, the most important relationship, and which will be the structural foundation of every relationship, is your relationship with yourself. That's number one. Yeah. And the second one, which really embellishes or supports your relationship with yourself, is your relationship with your source, your creator, the God of your understanding. Without those two, everything else is just going to be a hot mess. But your relationship with yourself, how you see yourself, how you talk to yourself, how you think about yourself, how you handle yourself, how you manage yourself, how you encourage yourself. And that will come from your relationship with your source. So many of us are disconnected from source. We believe in separation consciousness. I'm here, God's there, or spirit's there, and we don't have that unity. So we just see ourselves as human. And as humans, we're crazy as hell and flawed beyond imagination, you know? So it's really about developing that relationship with yourself that flows from your relationship with your source.
I love that. So does Tawanda. She said, amen. Cynthia said facts. Phaedra said, amen. Cynthia also said, period. That's how you know. She said, that's it.
Amen and a woman. How about that?
Yes, I absolutely love it. And speaking of women and our relationship to ourselves. On your podcast, you inspire people, you support people, you guide them and other listeners to do this work you speak of, healing. And one thing I love is that you say there's a difference between healing work and growth work.
Yes.
So people who don't know, what is the difference between those two things when
Okay.
you're looking to have a relationship with yourself?
So growth work means that you're in a good place within yourself and with yourself. And you want to expand, you want to evolve, you want to do better. So growth work is about looking at what you do and learning to do it better, more effectively, more efficiently, with more excellence, with more impact, so that your effects of what it is that you're doing grow or expand. That's growth work. Healing work is changing who you are, how you see yourself, how you hold yourself, how you be yourself, how you approach everything. And so many of us do growth work expecting healing, or do healing work and we want our growth to be rapid. But healing work is really leveling the playing field. Once you do the healing work, then you have to choose the growth work. Once you change who you are and how you be and how you feel, then you get to change what you do and how you do it.
That is so good. I was having a conversation with my girlfriends at dinner last night about therapy and about the different types of therapy you may need across your life and how it can change. I wish you were there to just fill us in on that. I'm going to have to run back again and be like, run it back. All right, we got to get together again tonight. I got to tell you what Miss Iyanla said. So we're here because of International Women's Day. It's tomorrow. And I love how in your podcast you talk about women as universal sisters. I love how you call us that. So I'm just curious, what issue or theme are you hearing the most that women come to speak to you about today?
Mothering, men, and money. Those are the three. Mothering, how to be better for the children. And many of us recognize that when we had children or when our children were younger, that we weren't fully in ourselves, we weren't fully present, we weren't fully conscious, and that we didn't mother the way that was most supportive and nurturing to our children. So now we're looking at our offspring and our children, and we're saying, oh, Lord, what have I done? So mothering is usually first, and then men, how to deal with them, how to attract them, what to do about them, how to get rid of them. So many issues with men. And the challenge is that we look outward at the men and don't understand how they are a reflection of who we are internally. Because man represents mind. Man means mind. So when you have these men who are misbehaving in your life, you got to check your mind out, because you're attracting them by energetic vibration. You're calling in what it is that you're thinking or believing or perceiving or holding. And then, of course, money, how to make it, how to get it, how to keep it, what to do with it, how to make more of it. So the whole notion of abundance, wealth, prosperity. So those are the three things that women really focus in on. And on the R spot, we're going to be talking more about that, our relationship with our body, our relationship with money, our relationship with our mind. Some of us don't even have a relationship with our own mind. We don't. We are on habitual responses to what we've been taught to believe and conditioned to do. We don't even have a relationship with our own mind. So we're going to do all of that on the R spot this season. So I'm really excited about that.
It is fun. When I walk down the street and I have my headphones in and I'm walking to work and I'm listening to you, it does feel like I'm with myself. I'm with you, but I'm with myself at that point in the day. And so anybody who listens to the podcast, I'm sure they also feel that way. It's a nice space to be in. But speaking of men mothering money, in a recent episode, I want to talk about something. I was really struck by what you said in the best way possible. You said, I think you asked someone, do you deserve more? Do you believe that you deserve more? And then I loved it because she got quiet. And then you followed up, you said, that would be a yes or a no, which was so Miss Iyanla. I love when you said that. I was on the floor. And she said, yes, I think I do believe more. And you said, so why do you accept less? Right. I want to know, as women, because this touches men mothering money, how do we as women know when we're accepting less? And how do we know when we're expecting too much? Because that's a boundary that I feel like a lot of people can't seem to find right in the middle of that. So how do we know when we're accepting less? How do we know when we're expecting too much?
You can't expect too much. You cannot. The universe is abundant. Everything, if you can formulate it in your mind as a thought and you can see it as a vision, it can never be too much. That is such a misnomer, a dysfunctional programming of the matrix that we live in. You cannot expect too much. Now, what you can do is demand too much from somebody else because you have the expectation and you focusing on boo-boo or kafada. You think that they are supposed to fulfill the much that you want, and it's not. That we can do, but you cannot expect too much. And you never get what you ask for in life. You always get what you expect. So what we do, however, is we expect it and then we doubt that we can get it, and that's what cuts it off. So you cannot expect too much. How do you know when you are accepting less? When your thinking, your speaking, your feeling, and your behavior are not in alignment with what it is you say you want. So if you want, let's say in terms of work, I'll do work, then I'll do men. But let's say you want a job that's, easy to do, surrounded by great people, where you are rewarded handsomely for your skills, talents, and abilities. And then you accept a job that's paying you less than you wanted, and the people are crazy as hell, and you hate getting up to go there every day. You're accepting less. Why couldn't you stand in what it is that you say you want? Why? Because we say we want it, but we don't expect to get it. And there's an incongruency. So you're accepting less than you want when, number one, you settle for what shows up rather than holding out for what you desire. That's number one. You settle for it. I had a conversation on the R spot with a woman who didn't want children. She knew she didn't want children. And then she hooks up with a guy who had 2 kids. And I'm like, why would you do that? Why would you do that? Now you're complaining because what the children are requiring and demanding is not what you want to give. She settled for less because she didn't believe she could find a loving, generous, spiritually grounded, supported, I don't remember what her criteria was, man who didn't have any children. So she settled. Okay. So that's how you know if you're settling up front. If you want 35,000 and they're offering 33.5, that's less than 35,000. But we'll accept it thinking, okay, the 35,000 isn't there. So here's a premise that you can use. All great events cast a shadow before them. Don't settle for the shadow. All great events and what you desire, having what you desire, having what you expect is a great event. Don't settle for the shadow. So very often the shadow shows up first and we say, well, it's not green. It's kind of blue. I can live with blue. Or it's not 35,000. It's 34.3. I can settle for. No, that's a shadow. Wait for what you desire. Wait for what you expect. Don't give up 5 minutes before the miracle.
Moment of silence. Please take a second to take that in. I love this. And one thing I love about you in listening to the R spot, it's like your style. You're just I call it respectful, but real. Real, but respectful, or real, respectfully. I feel like you need to coin that. You can take it. You can take all the credit. But it's so true. And I'm curious too, because it's like, I remember growing up, my dad I would be in the car and we'd listen to radio shows, and your show is so reminiscent of that, of people calling in and asking questions. And I'm curious, in answering those questions, how are you, and you may not have an answer to this because I feel like it's just your nature, but how are you able to be so honest yet respectful? I mean, that's a hard balance, and you absolutely nail it. And I think this could be good for people in their lives, speaking of mothering, who want to talk to their kids or their partners or their girlfriends. How do you toe that line of being honest and respectful?
Well, I have a reason for it. People lied to me in my life.
Mm,
lied to me, and they made choices for me that altered the course of my life that I didn't participate in. So
mm,
I have a death grip, if you will, on the truth. I'm going to tell the truth. And I've been taught to try to say it in a way that I would want to hear it. And sometimes I can't hear, beloved, oh baby, sometimes I can't hear that. Sometimes I have to hear, look, stop it, okay? Sometimes I need cold water in the face. So my commitment to the truth, which is a fundamental principle of life, allows me to really stand in the truth with no attachment to the outcome. One of the reasons we don't tell the truth to people is because we're afraid of their response. We're afraid to hurt them. We're afraid they won't like us. But I always say, love and respect somebody enough to know that they can handle the truth. And don't be attached to the outcome. If I want you to like me, I'm going to soft pedal the truth. Or if I think that you can't handle it, I'm going to soft. I don't know what you can handle. I know you can't handle what you're dealing with. Otherwise, you wouldn't be talking to me. So don't expect me to come and support you and staying in where you are. So my commitment to my truth, not my truth, but the truth. And I know the truth because I know the laws of life and how they work. And my detachment from the outcome. I don't care if you don't like me. There's hundreds of thousands of people on the internet who don't like me. And they let me know in no uncertain terms. And they call me mean and nasty and whatever. You know what? Nobody is going to ask them to fill out my exit interview when I leave this planet. Nobody. They're not going to know, what did you think about Iyanla? What the hell? So what do I think about Iyanla? That's what really matters. And I think if women particularly, because one of the reasons we get ourselves into trouble and problems in mothering, in men, and with money is because we don't stand fully for the truth. Our truth, the truth as we know it in the moment. Because there's a distinction between telling the truth and being honest. You can be honest and not be telling the truth. Because our awareness and our awareness and consciousness of the truth is limited based on our experience.
Wow. Another moment of silence, anyone? Oh my gosh. Everyone's really, really enjoying this, but obviously we knew that would happen. People are sharing their stories. Someone said, okay, we write our own stories. That's the truth. That is such the truth. And one thing I drew from that I love, Miss Iyanla, is talking about how sometimes it can be really hard to say, okay, how do you break it to someone? I don't want to hurt their feelings. But honesty is the crux of life. And so with that being said, we're going to get into questions. And we had...
Let me give you 4 principles.
Let's go. I'm ready.
Okay. And people should really write these down because this will support you. Number 1, when it comes to speaking the truth, does something need to be said? Because sometimes we jump in and give our opinions and our criticisms and our critique when it wasn't our place to do that.
Yeah.
So when it comes to speaking the truth, does something need to be said? The second principle is, does something need to be said now? Because sometimes it's not what you say, it's when you say it. Then, does something need to be said by me now? Because sometimes it needs to be said, but it's not for you to say, or it's not for you to say it now. And the fourth one, final one is, can I say it in a way that I would want to hear it? You need 4 yeses. Does something need to be said? Yes. Does something need to be said now? Yes. Does something need to be said by me now? Yes. Can I say it in a way that I would want to hear it? If we would just honor those 4 principles, if you get a no in any of those, keep your mouth shut until you get clear.
I
shut.
Love that. People in the comments are looking at that too. Someone said, yo, she's pure truth. Oh, that's my dad. Hi, Dad. That's so funny. Okay, so let's get into questions. I'm really excited. This is what people came here for. They want advice. They want your wisdom. So I'm excited to get into this. And there are 3 really good questions that people submitted. So let's see this first one. I'll read it out to you. Someone asked, what should you do if you're dating an almost perfect man, but you feel no connection?
Run for your life. Because you're getting ready to settle. You're getting ready to settle. Another possibility is, I don't know what almost perfect is. You know, perfect is a misnomer and a total waste of time. When you have that perfect thing there, that is a total tool of the ego, because you're always going to be looking for what's wrong. So almost perfect, what is that? Here's the premise. On the 7th day, God said it is good and he rested. Okay. So everything is as it needs to be. Is it as it needs to be for you? That's what you have to answer. So you feel no connection, run for your life. That's number 1. Or another possibility is you don't really believe you can have what you want. So when it shows up, you find something wrong with it.
My
If
goodness.
you don't really believe you can have what you want, when exactly what you want shows up, you will find something wrong with it to give you the excuse to throw it away. And then 5 years later, you'll say, I made the greatest mistake of my life. What does that mean? No connection. How can you not have a connection with another living being? We have connection with trees, with dogs, cats, you know. I had a mouse in the garage. I have a bird that lives in a hole in my garage. I call him my tenant. I got a connection to the tenant. When I wake up in the morning, if I don't hear it, I say, okay, where's the tenant? I have like a hole where they ran the wires and he just went in, or she, it, whoever it is, they went in there and built their nest. I have a connection to the bird. So how can you be a human being and not have a connection to another living being? What does that mean? I would really invite you to investigate what that means. No connection.
Wow. I am speechless. So powerful. And I want to move on to the next question, but I really want to dig deeper into one thing you said, Miss Iyanla. You talked about ego. Can we talk about ego for a second? Can you explain? Because I think some people think of ego as cocky. They think of ego as confidence. What is the true essence of ego, and how does it block us when it comes to relationships and dating and knowing ourselves?
Well, the ego is the part of us. First of all, it's the part of us that causes us to brush our teeth and comb our hair. You know, so it's not all bad. The ego is the part of you that's conscious of, connected to, aware of your physicality, your being, you know. And so that's why we get our hair dyed or get our hair cut, or, you know, men and women, everybody has an ego. But the ego also has a deceptive intelligence. There's a deceptive part of the intelligence that is ruled by the ego. The first deception is that we're separate from God. The ego believes that we're separate from God, that God is there and we're here. And that's also the premise that's promoted by most traditional religions. God is out there waiting to save you, and you got to do this and that and the other thing to please God. No, God, right where I am, God is. The beating of my heart is God. My expanding of my lungs is God, the God of your understanding. You can call it God, source, creator, divine mind, infinite intelligence, whatever it is you want to call it that. But no, you don't control the beating of your heart, the expansion of your lungs, the functioning of your kidneys, the chemicalization of your pancreas. You don't control that, and neither does the physical body. Something is making that happen. Something took the dirty dishwater of the sperm and put it with an egg that created you. Okay? No human did that. Because, you know, there was a scientific experiment done back in the 60s, and they said that the chemical composition of the sperm was the same as dirty dishwater. That the sperm is not good for anything else on the planet. Connecting with the egg to create it has no purpose. So how can this dirty dishwater connect with an egg and make you? All right. So anyway, the ego is the belief that we are separate from the source of our life. And The ego functions on the perception of the physical senses because it's attached to the physicality. So it believes in what you can see, what you can hear, what you can smell, what you can taste, what you can touch. So if the ego can't see it, hear it, smell it, taste it, touch it, it doesn't believe it's real. But the ego allows us to forget that life is created in the invisible, in the intangible. Nobody sees the sperm meet the egg. Nobody sees the gestation of those two. That's done in the secret, mysterious darkness of inside the womb. But the ego is attached to what we can see and what we can hear, taste, and touch. So that's why we have to be very, very mindful of the deceptive perceptions of the ego, the deceptive perceptions. And because the ego wants you to believe that you're out here on your own and separate and you're dysfunctional and defective and boo, you can't have what you want. I hope that did I say too much?
Absolutely not. Are you? You see, Iyanla, you can never say too much, ever. I'm gonna get you a mug that says that. You can never say too much. Okay, so oh my gosh, now we're getting lots of questions. This is great. I saw one. We have some questions people submitted, but I think we have to talk about this. Michelle asked, I would like to know how to handle a meddling mother-in-law.
Create clear boundaries and be willing to have a consequence when the boundaries are violated. Most of us don't know how to establish boundaries. So if you give me a minute, I would like to speak to that. To create a boundary, and a boundary is not a wall you put up to keep people out. A boundary is a wall, a shield that you put up to keep yourself safe from dishonor, disrespect, safe from harm, safe from whatever. And so you have to create boundaries. So the way you create your boundary is look at the behavior that is either disruptive, disturbing, that doesn't feel safe. And you create a boundary for that. That could be, please, I'm going to ask you not to put your feet up on my kitchen table, or I'm going to ask you not to smoke in the car, or I'm going to ask you not to, whatever the boundary is that you're creating, and you announce it to the person. I'm asking you to honor this for me. Because if you don't honor it, I'm going to have to do blah, 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 blah to keep myself safe, to keep myself comfortable, whatever it is. So you announce the boundary, and then you announce the consequence for the violation of the boundary. Most people don't do that part. And then the boundary gets violated and they get upset and they complain and they fuss and cuss people out. Create the boundary and create the consequence. Okay, so you create the boundary. I'm going to ask you not to put your feet up on the kitchen table, because if you do that, then I'm going to have to not invite you to dinner or whatever it is. So chances are, because we've already trained people that their bad behavior is acceptable, they're going to violate the boundary. All right. So they're going to come, they're going to put their feet up on the table, or they're going to light the cigarette in the car, or they're going to cuss around the kids, whatever it is that they're doing. When they do it the first time, you say, oh my goodness, remember I asked you not to blah, 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 put your feet on the table, smoke in the car, cuss around the kids. And remember I said, if you do that, I'm going to have to do so and so. Well, you did that. So I want to remind you that that boundary exists. Chances are they're going to violate it again. So the first time violated, you remind them of the boundary. The second time you violate it, you remind them of the boundary and let them know, should it happen again, you're going to enact the consequence. So if they do it the third time, you say, okay, I can't allow you in. I can't allow you to do this. I can't, because I've announced the boundary and you violated the boundary, which said to me that you're not honoring who I am. How does this apply to a meddling mother-in-law? I don't know what it is that she does, but you've got to create the boundaries. Please don't talk to me about my husband's childhood. That's not something that I want to hear. That's your experience. And if you continue to do that, when you start talking about my husband, I'm going to walk away or I'm going to hang up the phone. I just want you to know. Chances are mother-in-law is not going to honor that, or she's going to freak out. Don't be attached to her response. create the boundary, and be willing to enact the consequences. When she does it the second time, say, oh, remember, mama, I asked you not to talk to me about my husband, or not to, over whatever it is. I don't know what it is that she does. And remember, I said that if you do it, that I was going to do this. So I'm reminding you that that's a possibility. When she does it the third time, remind her the boundary and enact the consequence.
That's so good. Catherine said in the comments, took me 40 years to honor my boundaries.
Yeah.
Congratulations, Catherine, because it's not easy work.
No, because we don't want to hurt people's feelings. We don't want to, one of the greatest human fears is that we'll be abandoned or we'll lose somebody's love. So we allow them to remain in our lives, loving us in dysfunctional ways. But because your greatest relationship is with yourself, you have to teach yourself that you trust yourself to take care of yourself. So you can't allow people's bad behavior in your life, because then you're teaching yourself that who you are and what you desire, what's good for you, is secondary to other people. And that's not going to turn out well for you.
That's such a good point to consider in all of this. And I'm curious too, just to follow up, because I know somebody out there has this question, and I've heard people when talking about this ask this question. They say, is it up to you to set the boundary with your mother-in-law, or is it up to your partner to do that?
Oh, good question. Good question. And it all depends on your relationship with your mother-in-law. If you have a relationship with your mother-in-law that goes through your husband, then it's up to him to set the boundary. If you have a direct relationship with your mother-in-law, she calls you, you call her, you all go to dinner, you do your nails together. You have a relationship with her, woman to woman, that's separate and apart from your husband, then you create the boundary. But if everything goes through him, ask your mother this, my mother said that, boo, 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 then you say to him, here's the boundary that I'm establishing with your mother. And if you need to communicate that to her and make sure that she honors it, otherwise this is going to be my consequence. And really don't be connected to her response. She'll be, because we train people how to treat us. And then when we shift it up, when we do our growth work or our healing work and we shift it up, they're going to be pissed off because you've trained them to do a certain thing. But our relationships are a function of our bonding pattern, how we bond with people. Do we bond with people that victimize us? Do we bond with people that criticize us? Do we bond with people that have a power up, power down, power over, power under relationship? And when we do our healing work and we release that boundary, when we change our bonding patterns, people freak the hell out. They're like, what are you changing? What are you doing? This is
not normal. This is not what I'm used to from you.
Change. How dare you change? You got to do this to keep me comfortable, because people enjoy your life. When you don't enjoy your life, when you don't honor your boundaries, when you don't put you first, people will enjoy your life. Because if you don't enjoy it, they will.
So it sounds like you train people how to treat you.
Absolutely.
And sometimes you have to retrain people how to treat
you. Absolutely.
And you can't be attached to their reaction.
Yeah, no, you can't be, because they want you to do with your life what keeps them happy.
I love that.
Children particularly. Children have this. You only did it one time. We never, we have just forgot, So children will do that. They will play you like a fiddle. You never, yes, I have. And if I've never done it before, I'm starting it today. How about that?
I love it. Okay, so we just had a question about mothers, but speaking of mothers, I'm not even going to pretend like it isn't. This is my mom. She said, as mothers and wives, we're always giving so much of ourselves. When, if ever, do we get to be selfish?
Well, first of all, who trained you that you have to give so much of yourself? You got 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. If you don't have enough love, honor, respect for yourself to claim some of that time, like I said, if you don't enjoy your life, everybody else will. Everybody else will. So it's not about being selfish, because selfish has a negative connotation. It's about being full with what makes yourself healthy, what makes yourself harmonious, what makes yourself joyful. You must be self-full in order to give. This is the principle. My cup runneth over, but what's in the cup is mine. So many of us give from a half full cup that we then resent the people that we're giving to. Keep your cup full. Keep your cup full so that you can give from the overflow, not from what's in the cup. You are the cup. You deserve to be full, whether it's peace or joy or chocolate covered peanuts. I don't care what it is. There were things in my house that my children could not eat. They just couldn't. And like, I raised my kids on Kool-Aid back in the
Yes, Kool-Aid.
they would drink their Kool-Aid and they wanted my Kool-Aid. And I let them drink the Kool-Aid. And then, I'm a Virgo, so I'm like, germaphobe.
Yes.
I looked in the Kool-Aid and I saw the little greasy ring. No. Don't put your lips on my Kool-Aid. You can't have my Kool-Aid. Drink your Kool-Aid. If you drink your Kool-Aid, I'm sorry. I don't know what to tell you. And
what flavor?
Yeah, right. Don't eat the last of everything. So as mothers and wives, you have to establish that boundary. Wednesday from 7:30 to 9, it's my time. Lock yourself in the room, in the bathroom. Make sure the kids are safe. They're not hanging out the window or, cooking in the kitchen. And you take that time, or wherever it is. I love when I was raising my kids, there were 3 of us, me, Roseanne, and Nancy. And we used to give each other free time. So one day Roseanne would take all of the kids. Of course, she was drinking brown liquor afterwards, but because I had 3, she had 3, Nancy only had 1. Or then Nancy would take them, I would take them, so that we could give each other just an afternoon off. Just an afternoon off. And in terms of husbands, you have your date time. You've got to have your date time. Your time when you're not doing kids, not doing bills, not ignoring each other. You have that date time. And that's time for you too, unless you don't like your husband. If you don't like your husband, being with him is not going to be fun.
What do you say? Run for your life. Run for your life.
Run for your life.
I love it. Okay, so we probably have time for about maybe 2 more questions if we can squeeze it in. And I think a really, really good one came in about achieving happiness. And I think this one is really, really powerful. So it's, how do I achieve my greatest desire, my dream job, happiness, creating a legacy? Let's talk about legacy. How does Christy do all of this?
Well, first of all, what is your greatest desire? What is that? What is that? And you have to create what that is. Make sure you can see it. If you can't see it, then it's just words floating around in your brain. What is your greatest desire? And it has to be something that's just for you, not just for you, but that it can be self-created and self-maintained. Doesn't mean that you don't get help from other places, but it can't be dependent. Your greatest desire can't be dependent upon what anybody else does. So, for example, my greatest desire is to serve God with my talents, gifts, and abilities in a way that supports the evolution of human consciousness. I don't need nobody but me and God to get that done. I don't know what it's going to look like, but this is so whenever I can do something that supports the evolution of human consciousness, that's what I do. What is your dream job? Let's put a pin right there. Job means just over broke. Just over broke. So as long as you're looking for a job, what you're doing is you're attaching your talents, gifts, skills, and ability to something that will bring you money. No. What is my greatest contribution? How can I use my talents, gifts, and abilities in service to the world? That's called work. Your willingness, your giving into the world. Please stop working a job, because a job means just over broke. You're always going to be that way. Happiness is transitory. Let's go for joy. Joy is a higher frequency, a higher vibration. Happiness means something out there comes into you and makes you feel good for a minute. But when you have joy, The joy comes from inside, and you can share that, be that, spread that in whatever it is that you do. None of us really knows what our legacy is going to be. What you have to do is live your life to the fullest, moment by moment by moment, moment by moment by moment, every single day. Be present with who you are, with what you have to give, with what you're receiving, gratitude and forgiveness, clearing the heart space. And your legacy will be how people remember you. How people remember you. Everybody's not going to have a TV show. Everybody's not going to write a book. Everybody's not going to start a business. But if your neighbors and your friends and your grandchildren and your children can say, oh God, I remember when Grandma, G-Ma, Yay, Fifi, whatever they call you, I remember her cornbread and how she used, that's a legacy. Or I remember, my grandma taught me, don't go to bed with dishes in the sink. Always lay your clothes out before you go to bed, and make your bed up every day. That's my grandmother's legacy. She was a Native American woman who couldn't read. But her legacy is the things that I do in my life to carry on what she taught me. That's your greatest legacy.
I love that. I love that legacy is something that you don't realize what it's going to be. That's kind of exciting in a way. You just have to live the way you want to be remembered. That's awesome. Okay, so we have a dating app question, I believe. How do I bounce back from constantly being ghosted on dating apps?
Why are you dating on an app? What the hell? What is wrong with you? What the hell? You see, and this is true for women. We have gotten so caught up in the mechanizations and the trappings of the matrix of the world until we're doing stuff. People lie. And some people have met really good mates on the dating app. They have. I would go on the dating app, and if it sounds like I like you, within 3 connections, we're going to go on a date. And if you don't show up, good, you ain't the one. Bye. What does that mean? Now you're creating your value and your worth as a woman based on a freaking app? What is wrong? There's an app for that. It's called psychotherapy.com. Get that app.
It's called podcast, and it's called the R Spot.
It's called the R Spot. That's right.
Okay, so wait, follow up to this one, flip side. What if there's a really nice person, but the person dating is like, I don't want to ghost them, but I have to let them down. How do you do that?
You get to choose. You don't have to like everybody, and you don't have to invite them home to Christmas dinner. You don't like him. You know what? This has been great. I've really enjoyed our time together, and now it's time for me to move on. Your good is elsewhere, and so is mine. Let us go there and get it quickly. I mean, what? You don't want it. It's okay. Listen, I equate everything with shoes. I go in the store, I see a pair of shoes, I like the shoes, I put them on. If they feel good, I buy them. If they don't, because sometimes the shoe is so divine. I mean, you just want to lick the soles of it, but it's pinching your toe. Don't buy that. Or it's too big. You're going to have to stuff the toe. Don't buy it. Or the color's off. Don't buy it. Well, if you're on a dating app, treat the people the same way. You're pinching my toe. I can't with you.
You're pinching my toe. Tell them that exactly. And then report back here, everyone. Tell us what they say in response to your pinching my toe. I'm curious. No, I'm kidding. So, Miss Iyanla, before we close out, can you let us know what else you're working on, where we can find you? I know you always have something in the works, so I'm personally excited to hear.
Just like I get a word every year, I get an assignment every year. And this year, my assignment is Awakening 1 Million. Awakening 1 million to their truth, to their authentic self-expression, to resource. That means reconnect people to the source of their life. So our Awakening 1 million campaign is going to have classes. It's going to have products. It's going to have everything where people can do growth work and healing work. But my focus this year is really on men, because men are in trouble. We've been doing the work with women, and we have shifted and grown, and nobody has educated the men. So I'm doing a men's book club using Courtney B. Vance's book, The Invisible Ache. because so many men have an invisible ache. They don't have words for it. They don't have a process for healing it. They don't know how to grow through it or grow as a result of it. So the Invisible Ache Book Club will be starting in April, and men the ages 18 to 92, I want you to show up. And it's not just me. I'm going to have men coming on, including Courtney, and we're going to walk through that book. I'm also doing a 9-week healing process for men called Up From Here. We need men to lead. If you lead, you grow. And if you grow, we all rise up. So the Up From Here will be a 9-week online process. Last year I did Rites of Passage for women. This year I'm doing Up From Here for men. I also have the R Spot, which I love. So we're kind of revamping that so that people can come in. We're going to look at all relationships. I also have IVTV, my streaming platform, every single day. This is a place you can come to every day of the week and get something to support you in your growth work. So we've got Monday Matters, where we talk about things of the mind. We've got Transformational Tuesday, where I talk to teachers and healers who are doing work in the world. Then we have, I think it's Wisdom Wednesdays, where I do coaching, the coaching couch. You can come online and be with me, and I will coach you live for free.
For free. That's exciting. I want to
have Southern Intuition with Free on Thursday. She is a divine medium, and she's going to be sharing her gifts with people, doing readings, public readings right out loud. And then Friday on IVTV, it's Ask Iyanla. You can ask me anything from my bra size to what I put in my potato salad. Also, we're going to be doing things for children on IVTV. So really, Awakening 1 Million, that's my overall theme. And any way that I can get that done, you can get all of this information, all of it. And don't forget Metaphysical Bible Interpretation on Spiritual Studies Sanctuary every Sunday from 10:30 to noon. We are in the thick of it. Iyanla.com. Go to Iyanla.com and you can get all of that information and join us, because I really do want to awaken 1 million, because we are stuck in a place that is not healthy, that is not good. As women, we're going downward, we're going downward.
You always talk about in the R Spot about emotional vocabulary. And every time and I'll speak for all of us, I think we all agree, you inspire all of us to widen our emotional vocabulary, to understand more of ourselves. And I read somewhere that Iyanla means great mother.
Yes.
And you are the capital TGM, great mother. So thank you for being here with us during Women's History Month. When I think about Women's History Month, I think about legacy, and I know the legacy you're going to leave is resiliency. You've taught us all so much, and thank you so much. And I really want people to just go to the R Spot, listen to the R Spot podcast everywhere. I think Wednesdays is when it comes out.
Wednesday, and I want to thank Shondaland. There are hundreds, thousands of podcasts out there, but Shondaland has really supported me, and the entire team has supported me in just being who I am, doing what I do without being edited or sidetracked. So I really, really thank you, Shondaland. And one day I hope to meet Miss Shonda herself, because I haven't met her. Yeah, I want to meet. We're going to have to film that.
1000% must be broadcasted. All right. I'm sure someone's somewhere writing this down. Well, I can't wait for that day. And I'm sure everybody here can't wait either. But thank you so much again for your presence, for your wisdom. And thank you, all of you, for showing up. This is amazing. It's the middle of the day and you're here with us. How lucky are we? So thank you to everybody, and have an amazing, amazing rest of your day. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.